Hey, my name is Kyle Seagraves. I'm a lender with Modern Mortgage, and I want to walk with you through the seemingly confusing and complex steps that it takes to get a mortgage and ultimately to buy a house. So really getting a mortgage can seem like one of the most daunting and confusing tasks, but really when you break it down, there are a couple simple steps that you'll take to be able to go from wherever you're at to having a place of your own. And I want to walk with you through over the next couple minutes the 3 steps that it takes to buy a house. So here are the 3 steps. Number 1 is getting pre-approved. Number 2 is writing an offer. And number 3 is moving in, decorating your house, and inviting some friends over to enjoy it. So let's talk about number 1. Number 1 is getting pre-approved. So this is a problem that I see with a lot of people who are wanting to purchase a house, is when you're excited and you're thinking, man, I'd love to have a place of my own or move out from where I'm at right now. The first place people go is they go to Zillow or they go to Realtor.com or they try to search for houses first. And I get it, you're excited, you want to buy a house, why not start looking at what's available? But the problem with that is a lot of people don't know how much they can afford up front. They have an idea, but they're not sure what they are pre-qualified for through a lender. So what ends up happening is they're searching for all of these homes, then they go talk with a realtor shows them a couple properties, and they're still not sure if they're able to afford the house. And so there's this uneasiness and a little bit of an unrest of not knowing, am I gonna be able to afford this house? So getting pre-approved is a really simple process. Really, it takes about 15 minutes to fill in some information. And so getting pre-approved is when you're gonna talk with a lender first. And what you'll do is they'll kind of take a financial snapshot of where you're at. That way you understand exactly how much you'll be paying per month and the top limit of what you can afford. So now that you know how much you can afford, you have the knowledge of purchasing power. So you know exactly the top limit of your budget, and you know that everything beneath that is fair game. So what this looks like is you get a pre-approval letter. It's going to say, hey, John Smith, you've been pre-approved up to $150,000. Great. Now you can go to your realtor and say, hey, I want to look for anything below $150,000, maybe within $120,000 to $150,000. You get to choose and decide ultimately what you want. But you have the knowledge of purchase power. That way you know when you go into some of these houses that you see and you like, and you're viewing, you know what the payment's gonna be, what your approximate rate is gonna be, some of the closing costs involved, and you're gonna have that security knowing that this is a house that we like, but we can also afford it. So that brings us to step 2. So step 1 is getting pre-approved with a lender of your choice. Step 2 is going to be writing an offer. So writing an offer is simply where you say, hey, we like this house. We want to put it in writing that we're going to make an offer on this house for a specified price. And in that offer, you're going to get to negotiate a couple different things. So the main thing that we're negotiating is purchase price, right? If there's a house that's $150,000, you might come in a little bit lower, or you might come in a little bit higher, or you might come in right at the asking price. But some other things that you can negotiate that I think a lot of people don't consider, one is seller concessions. So you can have your seller pay a portion of your closing costs, which is a big win for you. Most of the time, I see contracts come in about 3% seller concession. So that means if it's a $100,000 house, the seller's gonna be paying $3,000 of your closing costs, which is a big win for you. Another thing in this area that I think so many people don't recognize is on their contract is the difference between short proration and long proration. So basically, this is how much tax credit you're gonna get from the seller at closing. So if we're going short proration, you're gonna be shorted out of about 6 months worth of taxes. If we go long proration, you're going to get the full cycle of tax credit at closing, which means big savings for you. So your realtor is going to help you draft an offer that's going to be compelling, and really the goal is to get the seller to accept that offer. So we did the pre-approval, we put in an offer, Now, after we put in an offer, what's going to begin is the loan process. Now, the loan process is going to take anywhere from 20 to 30 days on average. And in that, what's going on and what we do as mortgage brokers is we take the information that you gave us in the pre-approval, and now we want to verify that information with some documents. That way that we know everything that was in the approval was accurate. So when we're documenting this information, we'll be asking for things like pay stubs, W-2s, bank statements, maybe a verification of past mortgage. So we'll be asking for different documents that help us paint a more accurate financial picture that you told us in the beginning of the process. So once that process is done, we go to the closing table. In the state of Ohio, we're required to wet sign, which means we'll come together at the closing table. We'll all sit down and you'll have some documents. You'll hand over your portion of the cash to close amount. You'll sign over on the note and the mortgage. And after that, you'll get the keys to your house. So let's go ahead and recap those 3 steps. So 1 is we're getting pre-approved before we go shopping. 2 is we're writing an offer and completing the loan process. And then 3 is we're moving into our home and celebrating that the whole process is over. Now, I've simplified this process just a little bit. It looks nice and pretty on paper, but in practice, really getting a mortgage and buying a house can be one of the most daunting and emotionally fueled moments in your life. Really, it might be one of the biggest purchases you've ever made up until this point. It might be the biggest purchase that you'll ever make. And so there are so many professionals, real estate professionals, who are ready to back you up and answer your questions and help you throughout the process. That's why we're here, is because it's complicated. But our goal is to make it as understandable as possible. That way you can move into a home in a decent time with as little frustration and headache as possible. So, minus the barking dog, if you have any questions about getting a mortgage and what it requires, and different questions about terminology, or if you qualify, the best way to reach out to me is to go ahead and send me a message or leave me a comment and let me know you're interested. And what I'll do is I'll reach out and we'll talk and I'll answer any questions that you have. But thanks for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.